क्रिया शक्ति बुद्धे विज्ञान शक्तिता तैजस आनिन्द्रियाणि एव क्रिया ज्ञान विभागश प्राणस्य हि क्रिया शक्ति बुद्धे विज्ञान शक्तिता तैजस आनिन्द्रियाणि एव क्रिया ज्ञान विभागश प्राणस्य हि क्रिया शक्ति बुद्धे विज्ञान शक्तिता. Synonyms. Tejasani, produced from egoism in the mode of passion. Indriyani, the senses. Eva, certainly. Kriya, action. Jnana, knowledge. Vibhagasha, according to. Pranasya, of the vital energy. He, indeed. Kriya Shakti, the senses of action. Buddhe, of the intelligence. Vijnana Shaktita, the senses for acquiring knowledge. Translation and puppet by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Egoism in the mode of passion produces two kinds of senses. The senses for acquiring knowledge and the senses of action. The senses of action depend on the vital energy, and the senses for acquiring knowledge depend on intelligence. Purport. It has been explained in the previous verses that mind is a product of ego in goodness, and that the function of the mind is acceptance and rejection according to desire. But here, intelligence is said to be the product of ego in passion. That is the distinction between mind and intelligence. Mind is a product of egoism in goodness, and intelligence is a product of egoism in passion. The desire to accept something and reject something is a very important factor of the mind. Since mind is a product of the mode of goodness, if it is fixed upon the Lord of the mind, Aniruddha, then the mind can be changed to Krishna consciousness. It is stated by Narottam Das Thakur that we always have desires. Desire cannot be stopped. But if we transfer our desires to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the perfection of life. As soon as the desire is transferred to lording it over material nature, it becomes contaminated by matter. Desire has to be purified. In the beginning, this purification process has to be carried out by the order of the spiritual master, since the spiritual master knows how the disciples' desires can be transformed into Krishna consciousness. As far as intelligence is concerned, it is clearly stated here that it is a product of egoism in passion. By practice, one comes to the point of the mode of goodness. And by surrendering or fixing the mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by practice, one comes to the point of the mode of goodness, and by surrendering or fixing the mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes a very great personality of Mahatma. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said, Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. In this verse, it is clear that both kind of senses, the senses for acquiring knowledge and the senses for action, are products of egoism in the mode of passion. And because the sense organs for activity and for acquiring knowledge require energy, the vital energy or life energy is also produced by egoism in the mode of passion. We can actually see, therefore, that those who are very passionate can improve in material acquisition very quickly. It is recommended in the Vedic scriptures that if one wants to encourage a person in acquiring material possessions, one should also encourage him in sex life. We naturally find that those who are addicted to sex life are also materially advanced because sex life or passionate life is the impetus for the material advancement of civilization. For those who want to make spiritual advancement, there is almost no existence of the mode of passion. Only the mode of goodness is prominent. We find that those who engage in Krishna consciousness are materially poor. But one who has eyes can see who is the greater. Although he appears to be materially poor, a person in Krishna consciousness is not actually a poor man, but the person who has no taste for Krishna consciousness and appears to be very happy with material possessions is actually poor. Persons infatuated by material consciousness are very intelligent in discovering things for material comforts, but they have no access to understanding the spirit, soul, and spiritual life. Therefore, if anyone wants to advance in spiritual life, he has to come back to the platform of purified desire, the purified desire for devotional service. As stated in Narad Pancharatra, engagement in the service of the Lord. When the senses are purified in Krishna consciousness, is called pure devotion. Om Ajnanatimindasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshulmitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sijita Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paryana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradhan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitansya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanto Namasute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Bhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhevasha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Words again. Tejas Anindriyani Eva Kriya Jnana Vibhagasya Pranasya Hi Kriya Sakti Buddhe Vijnana Saktita. Egoism in the mode of passion produces two kinds of senses. The senses for acquiring knowledge and the senses of action. The senses of action depend on the vital energy, and the senses for acquiring knowledge depend on intelligence. So, it's a very beautiful words and beautiful section where Lord Kapila is explaining the fundamental principles of material nature to Mother Devahuti. Right from earlier verses of this chapter, how the characteristics of pradhan, time, and other elements, right? And there are 24 material elements, which comprises of 5 gross elements, 5 tanmantras or sense objects, 10 senses, the 5 kriya shaktis, senses of action, and 5 senses for acquiring knowledge. And the 4 antakaranas or mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta or subtle elements. Right. They all comprise together as 24 elements, so known as pradhan. And you add time into it, becomes the 25th element. And when Prakriti is agitated by time, the Lord impregnates it with the jivas, which are lying in a stagnant situation in his body. We have these 3 Purusha avatars, Karnodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Shirodakshai Vishnu. The Karnodakshai Vishnu is lying in the causal ocean. Causal ocean means filled with causes, right? Filled with these 24 elements. And you add time into it, the 25th element. And then we have this antakaranas or mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta. The sum total of all cosmic intelligence is called Hiranmaya, right? And then we have these 3 modes of material nature, Sattva gun, Rajogun, Tamogun, right? And beyond that is Vasudeva Tattva or Suddha Tattva, where the chitta manifests, the pure consciousness is there. Right? And that's also mentioned as representation of Mat Tattva in the body of the jiva, which has complete serenity, Shantatvam, clarity, Swachatvam, and freedom from distraction, Avikalitvam. And then from that Mahatattva transforms into Ahankar and or ego, false ego, where it's of 3 types, Vaikarika, or Ahankar in mode of goodness, Taijasha, Ahankar in the mode of passion, and Tamasa, Ahankar in the mode of ignorance. And the presiding deity of Ahankar is Sankarshan. And the characteristics of Ahankar is it acts as a doer, Kartritvam as an instrument. It acts as a doer, it acts as an instrument, and it acts as an effect. Karyatvam. Right. That's why when Ahankar is in mode of goodness, it is serene, calm, composed. When it is in mode of passion, it is very active. It is in mode of ignorance, it is dull. Now, Ahankar, when it interacts, that ego interacts in the mode of goodness, mind is created, right? Mind is created. it produces mind, ahankar in the mode of goodness. And the characteristics of mind is sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting and rejecting, and that gives rise to desire. Right. And then we see in this section of the verses where ahankar, when it interacts, false ego in mode of passion, gives rise to intelligence. And Srila Prabhupada nicely explains in his purport um, about mind and intelligence, right? The desire to accept something and reject something is a very important factor of the mind. Since mind is a product of the mode of goodness, if it is fixed upon the Lord of the mind, Aniruddha, the mind can be changed to Krishna consciousness. And now we have intelligence is a product of ego in passion, right? And the characteristics of this intelligence is it ascertains the nature of objects, dravya spurana vijnana, and it also helps the senses, indriyana manugraha, and we see in 31st and 32nd words, doubt, sansaya, misapprehension, viparyasha, correct apprehension, nishchaya, memory, smriti, and sleep, swapaha. Right. And from false ego in rajas, means false ego in mode of passion, also appears apart from intelligence is two types of action, means two types of senses, kriya sakti and jnana sakti. 5 action senses that depends on the vital energy, and 5 knowledge senses that depends on the intelligence, buddhi. Right, so that's how this entire section is kind of divided, where consciousness, the symptom of consciousness is, the symptom of soul is consciousness, which pervades the entire body. And the moment there is chitta, soul, there is desire. One cannot be desireless. There is desire. Either you have a desire to lord it over material nature, exploit the material nature, or desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's mentioned initially is the desire which is contaminated by material nature, but the 3 modes of material nature, that's why we have desire in the mode of goodness, desire in the mode of passion, and desire in the mode of ignorance. Right. And we do different activities based on these desires. But when the desire is purified, then the desire is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. And that is carried out by us taking shelter of the spiritual master, and by carrying out the orders of the spiritual master, like we in Nectar of Devotion, we learn about Vaidhi Bhakti, the initial stages of our devotional service in the Vaidhi Bhakti. We carry out the orders of the spiritual master. Not that in the later stages we don't. But in the initial stages, we don't have much knowledge at all. And the spiritual master guides us, knowing the disciples' desires. He details those desires in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that thus, that contaminated desires, he purifies that. Right. Uh, so initially, intelligence is in the mode of passion, but by practice one comes to the point of the mode of goodness. And in that mode of goodness, one takes up to the devotional service to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. So the senses for action and the senses for acquiring knowledge, both are also products of this Rajaha, false ego in mode of passion. False ego in the mode of passion. And a passionate state, one can advance in material acquisition. Right? Because Srila Prabhupada mentions even in Vedic literature, those who are in the mode of passion, they are encouraged to acquire material possession. The administrators are mode of passion, become kings, kshatriyas, mode of passion, brahmanas in mode of goodness, right? Vaishyas also mostly in mode of passion and ignorance, and Shudras are mostly in mode of ignorance, right? So, Srila Prabhupada mentions that it is recommended in the Vedic scripture that if one wants to encourage a person acquiring material possessions, one should also encourage him in sex life, right? Maitunam, mode of passion. That apart from using their energy in procreation, they get the impetus then to use the energy to exploit material nature and acquire material acquisitions and become materially advanced. But a real person, the Brahmanas are in mode of goodness, they may be materially poor, but they are very rich in spiritual consciousness. Right. Actually, the person who is poor is that who has poor fund of knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he has the entire world, right, the entire world, like Napoleon Bonaparte, he conquered the entire world, right, almost the entire world. And one day we see this story, Srila Prabhupada relates that Napoleon Bonaparte, that he had camped at a particular place, acquired the entire world. And a thief was stealing things, and he was caught. And Napoleon, it was brought in front of the Napoleon, right? And Napoleon is questioning him. That means, so why were you committing a thief? Why do you have this kind of profession? He said, "I am just a small thief, taking things from a bigger thief, which is you, who has acquired all these things by looting others." Right? Who has acquired all these things by looting others. Material acquisitions by looting others. Right? So, no. And suddenly Napoleon, this conscious awakens, he kind of realizes that, hey, ultimately, what right does he have to punish? He has also committed thievery, thuggism, and looted countries after countries. And he kind of released that thief. Right. So, those who are materially advanced, but they have no knowledge of spiritual knowledge, is actually very poor. Very poor. But those who are spiritually advanced are considered to be having real knowledge. So that's how we see these five senses. It appears from mode of passion, interaction of false ego in mode of rajas. Though later on we'll see that though they appear in from false ego and rajas, the nature is of at times tejas in mode of ignorance, and that's how those senses and interaction of those senses will give rise to the indriya, the gross material senses. And the tanmatras and the elements then appear from that. The sound, the ether, the touch, the fire, the touch, the air, the form, the fire, taste, the water, and smell, the earth. So that will arise. I mentioned the next words, it will be described about that. Okay. We are at 7 o'clock. If anybody has questions on this, discussions on this, we can post in the Nityam Bhagavata Sevya and we can discuss further. It's quite a technical section. So try to dive deeper to understand it clearly, because this will lay your foundation of understanding how these various elements comes into being. And that's how Kapila Muni nicely describes that as Sankhya Yoga to Mother Devavati. Hare Krishna. We'd like to wish you all a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead, and we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Nrsimha, Jai Nrsimha, Jai Jai Nrsimha, Praladesha, Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma Pringam, Ugravina Mahavishnu,
Mahavishnu, Dharantam, Sarvato, Nrsimha,
Nrsimha Bhagwan ki Jai, Prahlad
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vancha Kalpataru, Pavane Vaishnavebhyo Namah, Vaishnavinda ki Jai, Grantha Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Jai, Gaur Premanande,
Hari Bo.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.